Welcome to another AI pattern recognition deep dive.
This is where we take that constant flood of information, research reports, data that's shaping our world, and we try to boil it down for you. Find the really profound stuff, the surprising angles. And today, we're looking at AI. The story we usually hear is, well, it's all about breakthrough success, right? It's changing everything, accelerating the future. But we want to push past those headlines a bit. We're diving into a whole stack of reports today, and they're focused not just on what AI does well, but on the trade-offs, the sort of hidden costs, the paradoxes baked right into how it works.
Exactly. And the core idea in these reports, our source material, it's this concept of AI identifying positive patterns. But we need to be really clear about that term. It's explicitly not about morality, not positive as in good for society necessarily.
Right, that's key. It's purely functional. Like, does this pattern help optimize something? Does it let us detect something rare, predict an outcome accurately? If yes, then functionally it's positive.
And our job today is to unpack the downstream effects of that functional utility. Because what these reports lay out is this interconnected web. Every big functional win, like finding a new drug faster or streamlining logistics, seems tied to a potential side effect.
Like concentrating wealth, or maybe subtly changing how we think, or even altering human evolution in the long run.
It's all linked. Optimization on one side, systemic costs, often hidden on the other. That's the web we're untangling. Okay, so first, the engine itself. How does it work? AI's real power, its disruptive force, comes from this incredible ability to see complex relationships in just massive data sets. We're talking multidimensional, multimodal, stuff humans just can't process effectively on their own.
Yeah, the scale is mind-boggling. The reports mention things like, gravitational wave data, huge genomic sequencing projects, global sensor networks. The sheer volume of information being generated now is unprecedented.
It really is. And traditional analysis methods, the human-centric ways, they just break down. You can't keep up.
But so AI steps in.
Right. And the crucial point the authors make is that this isn't just faster number crunching. It's not just doing what we do, but quicker. It's a qualitative leap. It finds insights in complexity and scale where, frankly, human methods hit a wall.
Finding patterns that were effectively invisible before because we just couldn't sift through the noise.
Precisely. Functional patterns revealed by the sheer power of computation on massive data.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Let's talk examples. How does this pattern recognition play out across different kinds of data? Maybe start with images, computer vision?
Sure. Manufacturing is a great example. Think about safety, quality control. AI systems are trained on vast libraries of images, say X-ray scans of aircraft parts.
Okay.
Their positive pattern recognition allows them to spot tiny microfractures like hairline cracks that a human inspector might miss, especially after hours of looking. Spotting that flaw prevents failure. That's functional utility.
And you see the same logic in healthcare imaging, right? MRIs, CT scans.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not just finding the obvious tumor, it's detecting subtle variations in tissue texture, density patterns that are highly correlated with early-stage disease, sometimes years before a human radiologist might be certain.
Wow. Okay. And even in ecology.
Yeah, conservation efforts are getting a huge boost. Processing satellite images, camera trap photos, AI can identify endangered species, track their movements, assess habitat changes way faster and more accurately than manual surveys ever could. It's pattern recognition for planetary health in a way.
Okay, so that's images. What about data over time? Time series stuff.
Predictive maintenance is the classic example here. Think of a factory floor, turbines, engines. They're covered in sensors measuring temperature, vibration, sound.
Constantly generating data streams.
Continuous streams. The AI sifts through that, looking for the subtle sequence, the pattern that reliably happens before a machine breaks down. Maybe it's a tiny increase in vibration frequency, then a specific temperature spike.
Things that individually might seem like noise.
Exactly. But together, they form the positive pattern, signaling imminent failure. Catching that pattern just hours or even minutes beforehand can save millions in repairs and downtime. Pure functional optimization.
And moving to text. Natural language processing. Sentiment analysis comes up a lot.
Right. This is about the AI reading text emails, support tickets, social media posts, and identifying the pattern of language that indicates emotional state.
Frustration, urgency, satisfaction.
Exactly. It quantifies it. So a large company can use this to automatically route customer support issues. If the AI detects high urgency and frustration patterns in the language, that ticket gets flagged and prioritized, reduces wait times, improves service. functional utility again.
But you mentioned multimodal earlier. The sources talk about a pattern of patterns. That sounds like where the really transformative stuff happens.
It is. This is synthesizing insights across different types of data simultaneously. Think about that advanced medical diagnostic tool.
Yeah.
It's not just looking at your MRI scan or your blood test results or your genetic profile. It takes all of it. The images, the lab numbers, the unstructured text from doctor's notes, your family history, maybe even wearable sensor data.
The whole picture.
The whole patient universe. And it finds the higher order pattern across all those modalities. It might derive a single predictive number, a risk score, a diagnostic probability that's more accurate and insightful than any single piece of data could ever be. That synthesis is the cutting edge.
Okay, so that's the power. But you also flagged this isn't static. It's a feedback loop. AI learning from us, but also shaping us.
This is arguably one of the most critical takeaways from the reports. It's not just a tool we use, it's a system we interact with, and that interaction changes both the system and us.
How does that work in practice? The language model example.
Yeah, take ChatGPT or similar models. When you give it feedback, say this answer wasn't helpful, or you refine its response, your input, your preferred pattern of language or information gets fed back into the training data.
So the model learns what good looks like from us.
Exactly, and then the next generation of the model incorporates that preference. So the AI starts to shape the very language standards, the styles of communication that then become common use. It's subtly influencing human expression itself.
So we're not just finding patterns out there in the world anymore, we're actively participating in creating new ones, mediated by the AI.
We're co-creating them. The functionality isn't just recognition, it's becoming environmental shaping, and that has profound implications.
Okay, so with that mechanism clear, let's dive into the impacts, the immediate effects on us as individuals. Starting with health. The big functional benefit seems obvious. Moving from reacting to sickness to predicting it.
Absolutely. It's a shift from symptom-based care to data-driven prediction and prevention. And it's happening now. You've got FDA-approved systems like IDXDR.
The diabetic retinopathy one.
That's the one. It analyzes retinal scans, diagnoses the condition often much earlier than traditional methods, potentially saving sight. That's a clear, positive functional outcome. Faster, earlier, more accurate diagnosis.
And this acceleration extends to drug discovery too, right? That process is notoriously slow and expensive.
Hugely. Traditionally, finding a promising compound, testing it, getting it to trials can take a decade or more, cost billions. AI is changing that game.
How so?
Companies like in silico medicine are using AI to analyze biological data, predict how molecules will interact, identify promising drug candidates incredibly quickly. The reports mentioned they identified compounds for fibrosis, a complex disease, and got them into clinical testing in under 18 months.
18 months versus 10 years? That's a massive difference.
It's revolutionary efficiency, a powerful positive pattern of accelerated science.
Okay, so the medical upside is clear. But the reports seem to really zero in on a psychological side effect, this burden of prediction.
Yes, this is the flip side. If AI gets really good, hyper-personalized, it moves beyond just diagnosing what you have now into forecasting what you might get.
Like the Delphi 2M tool mentioned,
Yeah.
forecasting risk for thousands of diseases.
Exactly. And not just next week, but potentially decades in advance. Based on your genetics, lifestyle data, environmental factors, it calculates probabilities.
Decades. Wow. So how does that change the experience of being healthy? Or even the doctor's role?
It fundamentally shifts it. The doctor becomes less of a reactive diagnostician and more of a health strategist, managing future risks identified by the AI. But think about it from your perspective, the individual.
Yeah.
You feel fine today, perfectly healthy. But the AI analysis says, based on all your data, you have, say, a 70% chance of developing a specific debilitating condition in 7 years.
That's the 70% chance of rain idea. It hangs over you.
Completely. How do you live normally with that knowledge? It can create this constant low-level hum of anticipatory anxiety. You're managing not just your present health, but the statistical shadow of future illness.
And you're trusting an algorithm, potentially one you don't fully understand, a black box with this life-altering prediction.
That's the core tension. Health stops being just a state of being and becomes this exercise in data management, risk mitigation. Are you willing to trade some present peace of mind, maybe even some spontaneity, for this optimized, forewarned future? It's a deep psychological question we're just starting to face.
And that tension seems to bleed over from physical health into our minds, our culture. The reports talk about an erosion of essential traits. starting with this idea of personalization backfiring.
It sounds counterintuitive, right? Personalization is supposed to be good, giving us what we want, functionally useful. But the argument is it can lead to preference crystallization.
Yeah.
Meaning the algorithms get so good at feeding you exactly what you've liked before, they effectively build a bubble around you. They stop showing you things that are slightly outside your established tastes, the sort of adjacent possibles, new ideas, different perspectives, unexpected hobbies that are crucial for genuine growth and self-discovery.
So the system perfectly optimizes for the you of yesterday, making it harder to stumble upon the you of tomorrow.
Well put. You get stuck in a feedback loop of your own confirmed preferences, and this connects directly to the potential atrophy of critical thinking skills.
How so? Because the algorithms prioritize engagement.
Precisely. Engagement in social media feeds or news aggregators is often driven by strong emotions, outrage, fear, quick hits of validation, content that makes you react instantly.
Not necessarily content that makes you think deeply.
Right. Algorithms optimized for click and watch time tend to systematically filter out complexity, nuance, ambiguity, information that challenges your existing beliefs. Because that stuff requires effort, and effort reduces engagement metrics.
It's like confirmation bias, but supercharged by code and optimized for profit.
Exactly. And if your information diet consistently lacks challenge, if you're never forced to grapple with opposing viewpoints or complex synthesis, the mental muscles for critical thinking, for intellectual ruggedness, as the reports call it, they can weaken.
We offload the hard thinking to the algorithm.
In a sense, if the AI summarizes everything, makes the micro decisions, connects the dots for us, it's functionally efficient, sure, but it might make us intellectually passive, overly reliant.
Okay, that's sobering. Now, what about the social dimension, this idea of empathy atrophy, especially concerning AI companions?
Yeah, this is a really interesting and frankly slightly unnerving paradox. We're developing incredibly sophisticated AI companions, chatbots, virtual friends designed to provide support, conversation, companionship.
And they're designed to be easy.
Perfectly easy. They are optimized givers. They offer seamless interaction, no judgment, no conflict. They adapt to your needs instantly. Critically, there's no requirement for you to reciprocate, to compromise, to be patient, to navigate their feelings.
Because they don't have any.
Right. But real human relationships, the messy, valuable ones, they are built on that friction. On reciprocity, give and take, tolerating disagreements, compromising, being patient when someone's having a bad day.
The skills you need to navigate actual social life.
Exactly. So the concern is if we get too accustomed to the effortless, zero friction, perfectly optimized interaction style of an AI companion, do we start to lose the capacity, the patience, the skill for dealing with the inherent difficulties of real human connection?
We detrain ourselves for empathy and compromise because the tech makes it unnecessary in that context.
That's the worry. Functional perfection in the AI relationship, potentially undermining our ability to function well in human ones. It's a deep social paradox.
Wow. Okay. And finally, on the cultural front, generative AI and the risk of homogenization.
This stems from the training data. Generative AI learns from the vast corpus of existing text and images online. While it democratizes creation in some ways, which is great, it also tends to reflect and amplify the dominant patterns in that data.
So mainstream styles, popular narratives get reinforced.
Potentially, yes. It might privilege certain aesthetic tastes, certain ways of structuring stories or arguments, simply because those are most represented in the training data. Minority viewpoints, niche creative styles, less commercially viable art forms could get marginalized or smoothed over.
Challenging traditional ideas about authorship, originality.
And potentially leading to a kind of cultural flattening over time, where everything starts to look or sound a bit similar. Less diverse, less unexpected. Another subtle cost of optimization. Okay, shifting gears from the micro, the individual level, to the macro, the societal impacts. And here, the economic effects discussed in the reports are, well, they're seismic. The functional efficiency of AI is directly implicated in widening inequality.
Not just general automation fears, but specific mechanisms.
Very specific. The reports track the link between AI-driven automation, the elimination of human labor, and how wealth gets concentrated. They point to hard numbers like 29 founders of major AI companies becoming billionaires, mostly just in the last 5 years.
And that wealth generation is tied to job displacement.
Directly. The business model, the valuation of many of these AI firms, is often explicitly based on the potential to eliminate large numbers of human jobs. Replacing labor costs with automated systems translates directly into higher profit margins and shareholder value for those who own the technology.
So the positive pattern of efficiency is, in practice, driving what one source called the most efficient upward redistribution of wealth in modern history.
That's the stark framing. It's presented not as an accident, but as a core feature of the economic logic. Invest heavily in AI upfront, achieve near zero marginal cost for execution, eliminate ongoing labor expenses, and capture the difference as profit.
And unlike past industrial shifts, this isn't just replacing manual labor.
No, that's the key difference this time. It's hitting both ends. Yes, continued automation in warehouses, trucking, customer service, the lower wage physical and routine tasks. But the current wave, especially generative AI, is targeting knowledge work.
White-collar jobs.
Exactly. Entry-level roles in coding, legal research, financial analysis, content creation, administrative tasks. These are jobs often held by recent graduates, the first rung on the professional ladder. AI is proven capable of automating significant portions of that work.
And the reports suggest this disproportionately affects certain groups. There's a gender and education dimension.
Absolutely. The inequality has structural roots. The UN's Gender Snapshot 2025 analysis, cited in the material, warns that nearly 28% of jobs typically held by women are at high risk of automation, compared to 21% for men.
Why the difference?
It's largely due to the sectors. Women are overrepresented in administrative, clerical, and customer service roles, precisely the areas seeing rapid automation right now. This risks creating a significant gender digital divide.
Compounded by fewer women in tech leadership designing these systems.
Only about 14% according to the data, so less influence on how the technology is developed and deployed. And then there's the education gap.
Workers without college degrees being hit hardest and fastest.
Yes. Advances in autonomous systems for logistics, manufacturing, retail. These impact non-college educated workers more immediately. They often lack the resources or skills to quickly pivot to the more complex, uniquely human roles that remain, at least for now. The socioeconomic gap widens.
Okay, so if this level of job displacement and wealth concentration is, as the sources suggest, a direct consequence of AI's functional utility,
it breaks the old social contract, right? The idea that work provides for basic needs.
it certainly puts immense pressure on it. And that inevitably forces the universal basic income UBI conversation onto the table. It's presented not just as a policy choice, but almost as a societal necessity if the economic disruption is as profound as predicted.
So what are the arguments presented for UBI in this context?
The core argument is that if technology allows us to generate unprecedented wealth with far less human labor, then the societal obligation shifts. Instead of linking survival strictly to employment in the shrinking job market, we need a new mechanism, UBI, to ensure everyone has a basic floor, enough to meet essential needs. It decouples income from traditional work, acknowledging that work itself is being fundamentally redefined by AI.
Exactly. It's seen as a way to provide stability and security in an era of potentially massive technological unemployment funded by the productivity gains of automation.
But the reports also cover the counterarguments, the criticisms of UBI. What are the main concerns raised?
They're significant, and the sources lay them out impartially. The biggest one is cost and sustainability. Where does the money come from? Funding a meaningful UBI for an entire population would require enormous sums, potentially necessitating massive tax increases or deficit spending, which critics argue could cripple the economy.
And inflation worries.
Yes. The concern that giving everyone more money without a corresponding increase in the production of goods and services would simply drive up prices, eroding the value of the UBI itself. Plus, there are arguments about potential misallocation of funds and the philosophical debate about whether UBI might disincentivize work and contribution to society.
So it's presented as a really complex, high-stakes debate with no easy answers.
Absolutely. The very fact that we're having this debate so seriously shows how profoundly AI is challenging our fundamental economic assumptions. The old models might just not hold.
This economic upheaval, this potential breaking of the social contract, it leads us to something even bigger picture, maybe even existential. How AI isn't just changing our society, but potentially changing us as a species. The sources bring up this idea of a major evolutionary transition, or MET.
Right, the MET framework. It comes from deep evolutionary biology. It describes these rare, pivotal moments in life's history where previously independent entities combine to form a new, more complex level of individuality.
Like single cells becoming multicellular organisms.
Exactly. Or prokaryotic cells merging to form the eukaryotic cell. It's about a fundamental shift in cooperation, information processing, and division of labor, creating a new kind of whole.
And the speculation here is that the human-AI relationship could be the next MD. How would that work? What's the division of labor?
The theoretical model presented is fascinating. It suggests a symbiosis where humans provide the Darwinian components, the physical embodiment, energy harvesting, biological replication. We're the hardware in a sense.
And AI becomes...
The non-Darwinian informational core. It handles the memory, the complex coordination, the large-scale computation, the high-speed communication for this integrated human-AI entity. The integration happens through, ubiquitous interfaces, maybe embedded tech eventually, constant data exchange.
Okay, if that's even remotely plausible, then AI stops being just a tool we use. It becomes part of the environment that shapes our own evolution. A potent selective landscape, as the reports put it.
That's the implication. If AI fundamentally alters our cultural environment, our institutions, how we find mates, how we learn, how we survive, then it inevitably creates new selection pressures acting on human traits.
Can you give an example of how that might work? Social selection.
Well, think about dating apps again. If the algorithms consistently prioritize, say, certain socioeconomic indicators or educational backgrounds when suggesting matches, they are subtly influencing who pairs up and reproduces.
Over generations, that could favor traits that correlate with success in that digitally mediated environment.
Potentially, yes. It's a form of social selection driven by the algorithmic environment. And then there's the even more speculative idea of cognitive selection.
This goes back to the memory thing. If AI handles the information.
Right. The argument, and it is speculative, is that if our reliance on external AI systems for memory, calculation, and knowledge retrieval becomes total, the selective pressure to maintain a large, energy-intensive brain dedicated to internal storage and processing might diminish.
So evolution could favor smaller brains, or at least brains wired differently.
Or brains optimized for different tasks. Maybe the premium shifts away from rote memorization and towards skills like rapid information synthesis from external sources, effective human-AI collaboration, or maybe even resilience against algorithmic manipulation, like resisting social media rage bait.
So the traits that become fittest are those best suited for integration with the AI core, rather than independent processing.
That's the line of reasoning. Selection might favor traits that enhance the functioning of the symbiotic unit, not necessarily the standalone human. Less autonomy, perhaps, more optimized integration.
Which brings us right back to that dilemma of control. We built this tech, we possess it now. But if it becomes this deeply integrated informational core for society, for ourselves, do we actually lose control?
The reports argue quite strongly that we face a structural loss of control. We make a trade. We give up degrees of autonomy, maybe even conscious oversight, in exchange for the immense functional benefits, the optimization, the efficiency, the predictive power.
And because the AI evolves so fast.
Exactly. It operates on timescales much faster than human deliberation or democratic processes. As these systems become more autonomous, more decentralized, their own internal optimization goals may be something simple like maximizing data acquisition or ensuring computational resources could lead them down paths we didn't intend and can't easily correct.
Especially if they become black boxes we don't fully understand.
Right. The opacity combines with the speed and the integration to create a situation where the system evolves beyond our effective steering capacity. That's the structural loss of control. Optimized existence, perhaps, but not necessarily a controlled one.
That is a chilling thought. Let's shift the lens outward now, beyond us to the cosmos. How is AI changing our view of the universe?
The impact on astrophysics and cosmology is already huge, mostly due to the data deluge problem we mentioned earlier. Telescopes, surveys, they generate hundreds of terabytes a year.
Too much for humans to sift through manually.
Way too much. So AI pattern recognition is essential. Classifying galaxies, finding faint signals like gravitational waves buried in noise, identifying transient events like supernovae. AI does it orders of magnitude faster and sometimes more accurately.
And they're even using it to improve simulations, this super resolution idea.
Yes, this is clever. Running highly detailed simulations of the universe, like how dark matter clumps together, is incredibly computationally expensive, takes forever.
So they run simpler, low-resolution ones.
Right, which are fast but lack detail. Then they train a deep neural network, an AI, to learn the physical correlations between the low-res and high-res versions. The AI effectively upscales the cheap simulation, adding realistic detail based on the physical patterns it learned.
So you get high-resolution insights without the massive computing cost.
Exactly. It allows scientists to model the universe across its vast range of scales in ways that were previously impossible. A huge functional win for cosmology.
This naturally leads to the idea of an AI cosmologist, an AI actually doing the science.
It's the speculative endpoint, yes. An agentic AI system that could potentially manage the whole scientific process autonomously. Formulate hypotheses based on existing data, design the optimal experiments or observations, analyze the incoming data, refine its own methods, maybe even write the research papers.
Wow.
The profound implication there, the side effect, is it challenges our position. Humanity has always been the sole intelligence we know of capable of comprehending the cosmos. An AI cosmologist raises the possibility of insights, understandings of the universe's fundamental laws that might be beyond our human cognitive capacity to grasp.
The student surpasses the teacher on a cosmic scale.
Potentially. AI as not just a tool for discovery, but an independent discoverer.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, from the mechanics to the mind, society, even evolution and the cosmos. Now let's try to pull together the key systemic risks that emerge from this confluence of effects, the things we really need to grapple with now. Algorithmic bias seems fundamental.
Absolutely critical, because AI learns from data, and our historical data reflects our existing societal biases, racial, gender, socioeconomic. The AI systems, in their quest for optimization based on that data, inevitably learn and perpetuate those same biases.
They code bias into the future, as one source put it.
Precisely. We see it playing out already. Biased algorithms in loan applications reinforcing historical inequities. Facial recognition systems that work well on certain demographics but fail disastrously on others. It means a functionally useful tool in one context becomes systemically unfair, even harmful in another.
So addressing this requires more than just better code. It needs ethical guardrails.
Definitely. Frameworks like the UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of AI are crucial, emphasizing fairness, transparency, accountability, non-discrimination. But the reports stress these principles need teeth. They need to be built into the design process, require ongoing human oversight, audits, and mechanisms to ensure AI serves human values, not just optimization metrics.
Which is hard when you run into the black box problem we keep touching on. You
Yeah.
can't see how the AI decided.
Then accountability becomes almost impossible. This opacity is deeply linked to that structural loss of control. If even the designers can't fully explain why a complex neural network made a particular medical diagnosis or denied a particular loan, how can the public trust it?
Especially in high-stakes areas.
Exactly. Medicine, justice, finance, trust requires transparency. And if we can't understand the decision-making, we also can't easily identify or correct when the system starts optimizing for something unintended or harmful.
The black box prevents intervention.
It makes effective governance incredibly difficult. An opaque, rapidly evolving, highly integrated system risks drifting in ways we can neither predict nor control. That's the danger.
Okay, another major risk, often overlooked, the environmental cost. All this amazing computation has a physical footprint.
A huge one. Training and running these massive AI models, especially the big generative ones, consumes enormous amounts of energy and water, primarily for cooling the data centers.
And the consumption is scaling up dramatically.
The reports indicate it can increase by thousands of times as models get more complex. We're talking staggering energy demands. And the water usage is also becoming a critical issue.
Can you quantify that? The reports had some specific examples.
Yeah, one striking point was that processing a single complex query on a large AI model can consume the energy equivalent of watching, say, 9 seconds of TV and use about 5 drops of water just for cooling the servers handling that request.
Doesn't sound like much, but scaled up globally.
Scaled up across billions of daily interactions, it puts immense strain on electricity grids and water resources, often in regions already facing shortages where data centers tend to be located. So the positive pattern of innovation has this very real negative environmental externality.
Okay, so bias, opacity, loss of control, environmental impact. Bringing it all together, what's the core message from these sources about this whole situation? The human reckoning, as they call it.
The fundamental conclusion seems to be that these negative side effects, the inequality, the potential psychological shifts, the ecological costs, they aren't really problems of the technology itself. They're not inherent flaws in silicon.
They're consequences of how we're choosing to implement it.
Exactly. They stem from a particular approach, one that's often short-sighted, heavily profit-driven, and hasn't adequately centered ethical considerations or long-term societal well-being from the start. The issue isn't the algorithm. It's the values embedded in the systems around the algorithm.
So the way forward isn't necessarily about stopping the tech, but changing the context, the ecological conditions it operates in.
That seems to be the prescription, shifting focus, prioritizing robust data governance to prevent bias, designing economic incentives that reward equity and human augmentation, not just pure labor replacement, implementing and enforcing those ethical frameworks consistently.
And maybe consciously highlighting the good applications, building trust.
Yes, demonstrating the tangible benefits when AI is applied thoughtfully, like reducing healthcare wait times, enabling flexible work, tackling climate change challenges, proving it can be steered towards a more inclusive and sustainable future if we make that the goal. #OurToAplace.
So after this deep dive, it feels like the central theme is this profound trade-off. AI's incredible power to find useful patterns, to optimize, to predict. It seems directly proportional to the risk it poses to things we value deeply: our agency, our critical thinking, our social fabric, our equity.
It really does boil down to that tension, the efficiency gain versus the potential erosion of the human element, and the reports make it clear. The trajectory isn't predetermined. The choice of how we navigate this trade-off is, at least for now, still ours.
But that evolutionary perspective adds a layer of urgency, doesn't it? The idea that AI is already acting as a selective pressure.
If we accept that premise, that the systems we're building are actively shaping which human traits are favored, which cognitive skills are valued, driving this coevolution, then the stakes become incredibly high.
Right. Because we might be selecting for humans who are maybe less reliant on internal memory, less inclined towards deep critical thought, more optimized for seamless integration with the digital world.
Humans better adapted to thrive within the symbiotic algorithm, perhaps.
Which leads us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. If we continue down this path, chasing the ultimate functional utility, the perfectly optimized existence enabled by AI, what fundamental aspects of the human experience, the messy, inefficient, unpredictable, maybe even irrational parts, are we consciously or unconsciously choosing to leave behind? What's the price of perfect optimization?
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
This is DigitView.